Good morning, welcome to the video. Today I want to talk about New Year's resolutions. I know it's a big topic on everybody's mind at the turn of the year, and it's honestly like, I think it's something that actually gets a little bit too much flack, personally. I think it's because, let's be honest, the vast majority of people mega fail their New Year's resolutions. I think that, I don't remember the stats exactly, but it's something like typically most people fail their New Year's resolution by the end of January. I think it's probably like 80 to 90% of people pretty much fail by then. So it's not necessarily like, is it good or is it bad? Because I think it's something that, hey, it exists. At the turn of the year, we're all kind of thinking about reflecting on our year, thinking about like, what can we do better in the upcoming year? So I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually have kind of that contrarian view of, at least to like some of the elite circles where it's just like, it's BS, whatever. I actually think it's pretty useful. But something I think is useful is to kind of like examine your personality type and what works for you. To give you an idea, I am very much like an all-in type guy. You know, I do much better with like go absolutely all in with something 100% versus like dipping a toe in, sort of dabbling. And I don't necessarily say that as to pat myself on the back. I really don't. I heard a story about Nick Symmonds, you know, multiple Olympian, world silver medalist in the 800 meters. And it was interesting, when he was a pro athlete, one of his teammates observed that he would make one small change every season, or like one change every season. You know, normally athletes, we finish a season, especially if it wasn't so good, we finish a season and we're like, all right, I'm gonna do this different, I'm gonna do this different, I'm gonna do this different, I'm gonna do all these things, I'm gonna make these like huge, massive changes. And Nick was just like, no, I'm gonna make one little change every single season. And I commend that because, I mean, clearly it worked for him, but I think it's just such a smart way to be. But that's his personality type. You know, I think that's where not only does it depend on your personality type, like what you typically work best with, but also I think it depends on your current situation. So for Nick, in that story I told before, he was doing really well. I mean, he was running well each season. If you're at a point where you're doing well, whether that's running, life, career, whatever, if you're at a point where you're doing well, going and making these huge drastic changes probably doesn't make a lot of sense because, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if you're at a point where you're not making the progress you want, or maybe you're even moving backwards, that's where maybe a drastic change, you know, is going to be the best idea. So that's the way I think of it, is like, you really have to look at your personality, what works best for you. Let's say you were addicted to a drug or something, or you were trying to quit alcohol. Are you the type of person who can wean and like slowly back off? Or are you the type that, hey, you just got to cut it out and move forward? So it really kind of depends on you. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm an all-in type guy, just the way I am. So when I say I'm more of an all-in type personality, I really do mean that, but at the same time, I've also learned how to kind of get around the negatives of that, get around like the downsides of having that type of personality. Running is actually like a tremendous example to illustrate that, because I think we can all agree, if I were to say, all right, in 2022, I want to run a sub 230 marathon or whatever, and just start going for it in January, running big miles, going all out in training, I think you probably are nodding your head and being like, yeah, dude, you're gonna get hurt. You're not gonna have a good time. So I think we all understand that. You have to go all in for your context, like where you're currently at. And also you gotta go in all in for the long term. So an example of this might be like the first week of January, maybe you run 15 miles. That's not gonna look super sexy. That's not like, other people looking at you aren't gonna be like, oh, Michael's going all in, man. Michael's ready in 2022. But for you, that might be the case. Maybe in the month of January, you only get 50 or 60 miles total. That might be all in on your long-term plan, your long-term goals, but it's not gonna look that good on Strava. Like, no one's gonna give you a bunch of kudos because you ran 50 miles in a month, you know? So that's really what it's all about. And I think that I have to look at this very personally. I've said this in prior videos, but how if I were to like go based on my 24-year-old Michael training paces, mileage, intensity, whatever, 32-year-old Michael would have a bad time. So I have to take that very much into account, train based on current circumstances, go all in based on my goals, my long-term desires, and also my current fitness, current context, all that. What's up, baby?
Go check yourself for ticks.
Did you find a bunch?
There were like 20.
Oh shit!
There's one still like embedded in Poochie's ear, so I'm gonna have to get the tweezers in. It's dead, but.
Poor baby. So today I've got a circuit workout. What I'm gonna do 3 times, go through, like, circuit, way I do a circuit is like you do the one exercise, move to the next one, move to the next one, and then you go all the way back through. I know that probably most of you know that, but I started doing this while traveling and actually ended up really liking it. So now I'm kind of doing it even though I have my equipment. Bench, deadlift, pull-ups, core, walking lunge, overhead press, hanging leg raises, rows, and then to finish it off, Nick Bear inspired. I saw in one of his videos recently, he did like, finished off a chest workout with like regular push-ups straight into med ball push-ups and basically just like blasted it. So I'm gonna finish off with that. All right, so 3 tips to help you make your New Year's resolution a reality. First tip is don't be afraid of like shorter challenges versus a full long-term, year-long commitment. What I mean by that is like you hear all about these 30-day challenges. Those are really popular. 75 Hard has gotten a lot of press over the last like 6 months or so. The reason I like those is because, one of the reasons that they work really well is because they help you establish a habit. They help you establish like routine, even though it's not for the full year. Let's say you have this big year goal or this thing you want to establish. You can establish that as a habit within those 30 days, but that will help you carry over. That'll help you get started. That'll help you build the momentum that you need to actually reach what you want for the full year. Now, I think if I were being like totally honest about it, it really takes like more like 90 days to truly build proper habits. But at the same time, if you start the year with a 30-day challenge, you start the year where you say January, I'm gonna do this every single day, or I'm going to, whatever it is, that's a great start. That's a tremendous start. You just got your year off on an incredible foot versus saying, I'm gonna do this one thing for the full year and then maybe, failing by 10 days in January, whatever it is. It's just, it feels so, a year in our minds seems so long. I know like a year ends, like 2021 ended and all of us are sitting there like, how the heck has it been a year? It's impossible. That happens every time, but a year, when you're before a year, after a year feels like it flew by. Before it feels like a long time. Right now, we think the end of 2022 is gonna be a long ways away, right? So it just kind of hacks your brain by doing those shorter challenges. That's why I do like those, and I think it's great for people to start by just saying, I'm gonna make January killer, I'm gonna be on top of everything, because that's gonna help build the momentum that you need for the rest of the year. Number 2 is look at your goals in terms of systems instead of look at systems instead of goals. I didn't say that very well, but this is a concept Scott Adams, the guy who made the Dilbert comics, he came up with this, or at least I read about it in his book. The concept of systems versus goals is basically, you've heard this probably other places, you basically want to reverse engineer your goals. So you've got this big goal. You've got, I want to run a certain time in the half, or I want to lose a certain amount of weight, or I want to gain a certain amount of muscle, or I want to make however much money, whatever it is. The best thing to do is to reverse engineer that, because just that goal itself doesn't really mean anything. It's not really going to do anything. You want to reverse engineer it. Let's say you have a 5-year goal. That's great if you're thinking that long term. Not everybody does, but if you are, that's great. You don't want to just say, okay, I have this 5-year goal, and then that's it. That's all you think about. You want to reverse engineer that to what I need to do each year, what do I need to do each month, and ultimately what I want to do each day. That's really the concept of reverse engineering it. So a goal would be, I want to run a 2:30 marathon, whatever. Let's just say that. A system would be, I'm going to train, 60 miles a week, and I'm going to do strength work, I'm going to do, smart training, whatever. That would be the system that's actually going to help you reach that goal. So ultimately, that's what you want to do. Reverse engineer those goals into systems. That's what's going to help. Ideally, something that you can do every single day. And that goes into tip number 3, which is write things down. Whether it's physical or on the Notes app on your phone. I use the Notes app on my phone like religiously. I love it. Writing something down, especially if it's something that is a daily habit, I really recommend. I know not necessarily everybody's going to have, not everybody's goals are going to be something that can be translated into something that you do every single day, but if there's some aspect of it that you can translate to do every single day, that's good in a lot of ways. I think it's a very human thing to have like a daily routine, but it's also just something that you can build so much momentum, and that's where writing things down can be really great, because you do your thing that day. Maybe you want to run for an hour every single day or whatever, or you want to eat a certain number of calories every single day. Whatever that may be, at the end of the day, you can write it down that you accomplished that day's task, that day's system, right? You can say that I accomplished that because you're able to write it down, because it's a daily system. So I would really encourage you to do that, is to have something that you can write down. If it's at the end of the week, that's okay. That's okay too. I think daily is just a really good, like I said, it's a very human thing. These things, sometimes we try to hack our internal circuitry, our systems, and I think that daily goals or daily routines, daily systems just seems to work really well with that. But anyway, good luck to you. Here's to everybody's New Year's resolutions. Cheers, you guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.